But this is sort of the blueprint for the Bruins. They get scoring from David Pastrnak, who has 3 points, his best night since December 11th out in Winnipeg. They get good contributions from Hampus Lindholm, who has a goal and assist, and the Bruins were on the attack when he was out there quite a bit. And your last line of defense, Jeremy Swayman, makes 34 saves. NaturalStatTrick.com had him for a perfect 16 for 16 in terms of high-danger saves. And that's the blueprint. Pastrnak, defense, at least one defensive pair, driving play, and your goaltender standing on his head. Now, the question, of course, that we're always going to have with this team and the way they play, is it sustainable? I'm going to tell you right now, the Bruins don't care about sustainability. They want to win tonight's game. They want to win that day's game. And they're going to let it fall where it may in terms of sustainability and what it means. But when you've lost 6 in a row, you don't go to the rink going, can we always win this way? Can we keep winning this way? You just want to win a damn game. The Bruins won a damn game on New Year's Eve. Which, by the way, don't love New Year's Eve games at night. Just don't do that. Just don't do it. Do it during the day. If you're gonna play on New Year's Eve, do it during the day. Everyone's off anyway. Who cares? So I don't know if you saw that game, but if you didn't, that's what you missed. You got timely scoring from David Pastrnak. You had 11 players with at least 1 point, so it was balanced attack, which is nice, but it really was, in my opinion, Pastrnak finally waking up here and putting forth a good game, by his standards, right? He's had games where he scored goals, but that was David Pastrnak on Wednesday night. And what you love about it, too, is that it's a star-on-star battle. He's going against McDavid and Draisaitl, and he's the best player in that game out of the three. You move Jonathan Aspero up there with Hampus Lindholm on a second pairing. I like that look because I don't really like what you've seen from Lindholm and Peak lately. Not they've been bad all year, but lately it feels like they're running into some struggles. So you break them up. Aspero comes in. He's been good. He continued to be good. He scores a goal for you as well. And so here we are. It's a new year. The Bruins just finished up 2025 as the third worst team in hockey. 34 wins in the calendar year of 2025. The third worst year among any, or third worst team in the calendar year of 2025. Only San Jose and Chicago were worse than the Bruins were a year ago. And so that you hope that's not the case for 2026, but here with you, 617-779-0985. I want to find out what you want out of this team in 2026. Do you want a playoff push? Do you want them to sell? No matter what you think they should do right now, I'm going to take the cop-out answer and say, you're right. They should sell. No, they should go for the playoffs. I don't think there's a right or a wrong answer right now because you look at what's happening with this team. You look at how up and down they've been. They'll win 5 in a row, lose 6 in a row. They'll lose 4 in a row, win 5 in a row, or win 4 in a row, lose 5 in a row. They have been very one step forward, one step backward for the most of the year. And I would tell you that the Eastern Conference as a whole has been like that. But if you're a team like the Bruins and you're not, say, the Florida Panthers, who know we want to be good. The Panthers know, have been great, but we want to be great. We have enough to go on a playoff run. The Bruins don't know if they have enough to go on a playoff run yet. They'd like to think they do, but they don't know, right? And if this is a seller's market like it was a year ago and you can get some strong returns and you can maybe accelerate your timeline a little bit, that's a potentially great idea, But you're gonna hurt your present, right? You're gonna tell Pastrnak, hey, you got to wait one more year. You got to tell Zadorov, you got to wait one more year. Swayman's playing well. Hey, you got to wait one more year and be good next season too. It's a really tricky proposition for them, and so I think 2026, new year, new team. New goals, perhaps? And that's what I want to talk about with you guys today, 617-779-0985. What do you want them to do? We just watched the World Juniors. Team USA's run is over, which means the Bruins prospects runs are over. Will Zellers had a great tournament. You acquired him in the trade last year. That sent Charlie Coyle to Colorado. James Hagen's had a good tournament. He was a player that you drafted, obviously, 7th overall. You got that pick by being a really bad team. And so do you want to try to dip your toe into those waters again? this time next year you have 4 guys at the World Juniors, or you have 3 guys, whatever the case may be. Like, that allure is there because it really is proven to be the only way that you can truly rebuild. You're not Florida, who Florida's a great mix of kind of sucking for a little while and making some shrewd moves and guys wanting to come to your city. I'll tell you this. The Florida advantage is real. It is real. Players, when they look at their checks, when they play for the Florida Panthers or the Tampa Bay Lightning or the Nashville Predators, right? Like, they look at their checks and they're like, well, I made that much money? That can't be real. It's going to be a mistake. It's a real thing. So they have a built-in advantage on top of everything else. But you look at what Florida's done, the basis of what Florida was able to do was drafting high and then figuring out who fit in there and who didn't, making some good trades. Like, they don't get Matthew Tkachuk without drafting Jonathan Huberdeau, right? Like, that's a part of the process for them. Look at Colorado. Colorado has McKinnon and Makar, and they drafted those guys, but you don't win without making some good moves along the way, right? And even when a guy doesn't want to be there, like Mikko Rantanen, who again they drafted really high, I think a top 10 pick, I want to say 9th overall. You trade him and you bring in Marty Necas, who was a first-round pick. Like, but you got to build the pool. The pool is not totally built for the Bruins. It's like 55-60%, filled right now. You can add some more young talent. The best way to do that is, again, drafting. And so, do you want more cracks at it? Do you want to trade more and require more first-round picks, second-round picks? That's how you got to rebuild it. Unfortunately for the Boston Bruins, not a lot of stars are going to hit the free agent market. But if you win like you did on Wednesday, it's gonna be hard to say no. Hard to say no to buying and adding and giving your team a chance, which is something that Don Sweeney has talked about over the years, of giving the team a chance every year. Again, this is a very free-form episode. Ryan Beaton, Throwback Thursday over here.
It's good to be back. It's been a while.
It's been a while. I love it, though. It's great. It's great to have you back.
Thanks.
Producing today. Ryan Garvin has a day off. Deserves it. Guy worked his tail off basically all holiday season. Every time I came to the building, he was in here. But I know, this is a very free-form and very rambly opening segment, but I am asking you guys, what do you want them to do? By the way, 9:30, we're going to talk with Ryan Crowley and Bob Sweeney ahead of another great charity game over at Warrior Ice Arena scheduled for next week. They did this event a year ago, and it was absolutely fantastic. A lot of 2011 members skating in that game and alumni. The Warrior for Life Fund, it's a really cool endeavor. We're going to talk to them more about that at 9:30. But up until then, it is your phone calls, and I just want to know what you think. Here's the problem for me. I think it's so hard to ask guys to basically wait another year in the prime of their career when it comes to we're going to sell again, right? And so it might come down to how close they are in a playoff picture. Like, if they are 2 points out, you're not selling. Maybe you're not buying, but you're not selling. Keep in mind, a year ago when they sold, they were 6 points out, but they had games in hand working against them. This year might be something similar. They've played a lot of hockey. The Olympic break, it will be coming up at about a month from now, actually. And so this is a mad dash here to figure out, when you want to sell. Do you want to get aggressive, or do you want to, look at it and go, we're going to sell moderately. We're going to trade off a Victor Arvidsson. We're going to try to trade off a Casey Middlestad. We're going to see the market on perhaps Andrew Peeke. Anyone want Jonas Korpisalo? Things of that nature. And so I'm reluctant to rob myself of a meaningful hockey season, but I also have to think big picture. But are the Bruins allowed to think big picture? And that's another part of the equation that I don't think we talk about enough. They gave Don Sweeney a 2-year extension. He did not get a 4-year extension like he did last time. If you're a guy with a 2-year extension, you kind of want another contract after this current one, wouldn't you say? What gets you that contract? Selling or buying? We know that ownership does not want to be irrelevant. I've said that on this podcast. I've said this on this radio show before, and I've said it on podcasts. They They do not want to be irrelevant. Missing the playoffs 2 years in a row would inch them towards relevancy. That's something that they are mindful of. And so it's a really tough spot. I think it's a sneaky tough spot for this team in terms of what they should do, what they can do, what they will do. And whatever your answer is, you're right. But I want to hear more about that. Again, 617-779-0985. When we come back, we're going to get you guys on the phone. We're going to hear what they should do, what they can do, and what you want them to do. This is the Shaw's and Star Market Hockey Show. I am Ty Anderson. Your phone calls right after this break.
The Shaw's and Star Market Hockey Show will continue with Ty Anderson, Ryan Johnston, and Bob Beers on the Sports Hub.
Anyone can join the fun at New England's largest snow tubing park, Neshoba Valley Snow Tubing Park in Westford, Mass. 18 lanes of snow tubing, 100.
How are you? I'm always listening, buddy. Just the timing with my schedule is not conducive to calling the show anymore, unfortunately.
I get it. I get it.
Yeah. But I'm always listening, and I appreciate your thoughts. But like the Bruins, my friend, you are playing both sides of the fence here. 1 foot in, 1 foot out. And me, this is what I want them to do. They have started to lay the foundation for moving forward. They have reestablished their culture with a new set of leadership. Now what I want them to do is build on that foundation, build on that culture, and show other players who can come in and help this team that you have an end goal, and that is to once again become a relevant team in the National Hockey League. I don't know how Don Sweeney is going to be able to accomplish that when there is a mandate that we all know is alive and well, and that is that the Jacobs family wants playoff money. So he is in a really, really tough spot. And I don't know now how he, Don Sweeney, if he identifies free agents that are willing to come here to then go to management and ownership and say, we've got to throw more money at these guys than the Tampa Bay Lightnings and the Florida Panthers can throw at these guys.
Yeah, no, it's a great point, Maria, and thank you for the call, and thank you. It's great to hear from you again. I think that's a huge challenge for them. And the other part of it, the problem for them, Maria, is that they have the least amount of cap space out of any team projected right now. And they can sell off guys and increase that number, we all know. But for the 2026-27 season, they are already near the bottom in terms of available cap space. And that's weird, right? You look at this roster and you'd go, really? They are? That doesn't sound right. Like, no, it's interesting. They have so much money tied up at the bottom of their roster between guys like Jonas Korpisalo and Henry Jokiharju and Mason Lohrei, Tanner Jeannot, Michael Asimon, Sean Corrali, Mark Kastelik. This isn't to say they're bad players. It's just when you have that much money tied up in bottom sixers and third pairing guys and your backup goaltender position, it affects what you're able to do in the middle and at the top. You're talking about these teams that can throw an extra $2 million at a guy if you're in a bidding war. That's a problem for a team. That is a problem for a team in terms of being able to make that kind of move. And so it's a really unique team. It's an interesting team in terms of what they can do. Now, they brought in some of these guys to address culture and to have more of an attack mentality, guys that will rattle some cages a little bit and say, hey, we're not playing good enough right now. But Maria, to your point that you mentioned, like they've had some back-to-back off seasons here where they've spent some money. They've spent significant money in back-to-back off seasons. You know, you go back to the summer of 2024 where they bring in Zadorov and they bring in Lindholm and they re-sign Swayman. I mean, it was spending basically $90 million, I think, if you do the math out or close to it. And so that's an issue, or $120 million or something crazy like that in terms of like what the money that they gave out over the course of those contracts. And so if you're Sweeney and you miss the playoffs 2 years in a row and you're like, just give me more money, they're gonna be like, dude, what? No. And so I think that's something worth watching here. It really is. I just think that it's a unique situation for them, and they want to play both sides of the fence, and I feel like that's something that they have to work through here. Steve and Stoneham. Steve, what's up?
Hi, Ty. How you doing? Thanks for taking my call. You just mentioned something about that high-priced guys that they can't really get rid of. I think two people that they should definitely look at getting rid of is Middlestat, obviously, because he's making over $5 million. And the other one, Ty, I want to talk to you about is a person, I'm sure he's got no movement clause, no trade clause, would be Elias Lindholm. Mm-hmm. Elias Lindholm has centered the best wings that the Bruins have to offer. And he's played 31 games this year, and he has one even strength of 5-on-5 goal all year. And I think if you want to cut some of the older guys or the higher priced guys to save some money and move it somewhere else, I think that's a guy that maybe you talk to him The other guys, you mentioned the guy Yokihawa who's playing, he's on the finish. Both these guys are in the Olympics, so we'll have a chance to showcase themselves, hopefully in the Olympics. And we're kidding ourselves if we think, Ty, these guys are a Stanley Cup contender. They might be a potential playoff team, but I think what they ought to do is take a look at the teams that are desperate to get into the playoffs, like Detroit and Buffalo, and maybe start selling to teams like that because they'll be in a situation where they're desperate. They want to make the playoffs back. Thanks, Sal. Wait to hear what you have to say.
Absolutely, Steve. Thank you for the call. This is where Vancouver kind of falling off the table really hurts you because Vancouver is a team that's desperate for a center. And it would have made a lot of sense for them to acquire a Mittelstadt who is boys with Brock Besser, one of their top players. They trained together in the offseason in Minnesota. They've been close friends for a long time. You got the reports early out of the year that the Canucks were hot for Pavel Zacha. So Vancouver needs a center. They want a center. Now the problem is they have fallen off the table. They're one of the worst teams in hockey. They traded Quinn Hughes, so they're probably not going to give you much of value in terms of getting rid of a guy like Mittelstadt. But I do think he's the chip that you most consider moving because of the money. And it's interesting, right? Because he's played better than I thought he would this year. Watching him in the preseason, he had one shift where he gave the puck away 4 times, and I went, "Oh no, Marco's not going to be a fan of this guy. He's not going to want to play this guy." And there was a stretch there where they scratched Casey Mittelstadt early in the year, and you're like, you're going to have $5.75 million in the press box every night? That's not good for your team. That's not good for the health of your franchise economically. So, but you do have James Higgins coming, right? And you're playing Mittelstadt on the wing. Is Higgins going to play on the wing out of the gate? I imagine so. And so, can you have a roster that has both Mittelstadt and James Higgins? And if you want to go a step further, Matty Poitras. If Matty Poitras pushes, you're going to have all 3 of those guys in your team potentially. I don't see that. And so there is that part of it as well. He's a guy that you look at, right? There are 3 guys I look at in terms of if they want to make a hockey move. You look at Lohrei because he's young and he's making some decent money, and you can argue that they have Aspero, and that maybe mitigates some of the need for Lohrei, not in role, but in deployment, in usage, in dependability for Marco's standpoint. And you got to ask yourself, is Lohrei ever going to get better at the things he's not good at? That's something that I keep saying. I don't know if those things are going to get better. You mentioned Mittelstadt. He's one of those guys as well. He makes big money. He's young enough. You could move him to be the centerpiece of another trade. And then Jonas Korpisalo. DiPietro is still surging in the minors right now. And Korpisalo, he played well in Buffalo. He's the only reason why he didn't lose 6-1, in my opinion. I thought he played well for a team that did not show up, the Bruins team. But those are guys I look at and think those are the guys that could move because they make money. They're young, and they might fit a need for another team more than they fit your need right now. So that's something worth watching as well. Joe in the car. Joe, what's up? Joe.
374, how's it going?
Hey, what's going on?
Oh, let's put Joe back on hold here if we can real quick.
Yeah.
Sorry about that, Joe. We'll get back to you. I think he's at a drive-thru right now or something. Order me something. I got the money. I want my donut.
55.
Let's go with Mike in Florida. Mike, what's up?
Yeah, how are you? You want to get rid of somebody? I'm with the guy who just said Elias Lindholm. It is the worst free agent signing since Bolesky of Anaheim. Okay, 7.6, I believe, 7 years total. Okay, and I'm tired of hearing about face-offs and back-checking and penalty killing. You pay a guy that much money, he's got to be a 20-plus goal scorer and get 60-plus points and be they're using him as a one. They're over north of the border, the Canadian media, they're laughing at it because they've already seen him in Calgary and Vancouver. He's not a top centerman. He's not, and this was a joke. I mean, Nikita, Big Z there, he came around. He was embarrassing last year, but he's had a much better year this year. But Lindholm, no way. Okay, but when I want to talk about Maria over there, she says about how we got to beat out Florida and Tampa Bay. Believe me, I will tell you this. The Boston Bruins logo, that Spoke B, carries a lot of weight. And NHL athletes are different than other athletes. They like to play in real hockey markets with tradition and original six. And you don't have to be the highest bidder all the time in the Bruins case. The Bruins do have a future. They do have Higgins, they do have Zellers, and they can, if they work hard, they can play both sides of the fence. And if they work hard, like the old school Bruins of the 70s and 80s and those kinds of teams, they could make the playoffs this year by just being blue collar and being consistent. They have to find that consistency. They have the goaltending. And Korpisalo also, he's gone. This is the last year you will ever see him no matter what, whether a trade, whether waivers, whether they buy him out. DiPietro is the future of the Boston Bruins second goalie. Whether it happens this year, it'll happen without a doubt in June or July. And it's that simple. Have a great day.
Thank you, Mike, for the call. Yeah, with Lindholm, he does have a full no move, so I don't think he's going to be going anywhere. I think the biggest thing is this is what happens when you get bogged down and we got to replace Bergeron. And so you find the dollar store Bergeron, but he doesn't cost $1. He costs a lot more than that. And it's like, just let that go. You're not going to find another Hall of Famer in free agency. It just doesn't really happen. You got so lucky with Chara. Don't think that's going to always happen where you just find a Hall of Fame replacement or a Hall of Fame talent in free agency. But they got boxed into saying we got to replace what we lost with Bergeron. And just so happened that Elias Lindholm was the best thing available that only cost money and not trade assets that they didn't have. We're going to take a quick break here. We come back. We're going to talk with Ryan Crowley and Bob Sweeney ahead of the Warrior for Life game at Warrior Ice Arena next Saturday. It is a great event. It's an awesome event. But we're going to talk with them more about that after a quick break here on the Shaw's and Star Market Hockey Show.
Ty Anderson, Ryan Johnston, and Bob Beers. This is the Shaw's and Star Market Hockey Show.
Live from the Town Fair Tire Studios, it is the Shaw's and Star Market Hockey Show with your host, Ty Anderson. And joining us now on the line from the Boston Bruins Foundation, we have Bob Sweeney. And also from the Warrior for Life Fund, we have Ryan Crowley. Guys, how are we doing this morning?
Doing great.
Awesome.
Yeah, doing great. Thanks for having us on.
Oh, absolutely, dude. Anytime. This was a great... It's always one of my favorite ones that we do, honestly. For those who don't know, this game happened a year ago as well at Warrior Ice Arena in Brighton. It's happening there again this year. And I got to tell you guys nailed it a year ago, where everybody I know who went or was involved in it had an absolutely amazing time. And it's one of those events that I think people should know about and should really be excited for. And so I want to give the floor to you guys. Ryan, beginning out of the gate here, talking to us about this game, how it came to be, and what it's now morphed into for you guys and for the Boston Bruins as well.
Sure, and thanks for having us on. This is great. So just a quick thought about Warrior for Life and why we're important to us. So in Warrior for Life, we live down here in Norfolk, Virginia, which is the highest concentration of active duty military Gold Star families, really in the world. Largest naval base in the world, master jet base, all the SEAL teams are here. So this area that we live in is just inundated with the military and also with some of the grief that has happened over the past 25 years. I just did the numbers as I was sitting listening to your show and coming on board. The past 25 years, we've lost to combat or training one guy every 6 months. And that's up to date for where we are today. And that's everything from Extortion 17 helicopters to individual operations to guys that have been killed in training. And believe it or not, there's a lot of those as well. But these guys are A players across the board. They live here in Virginia Beach. So if you can imagine one guy per 6 months, but you got to go wider than that because they all have families, because they all have they're all coaches. They're major parts of the community down here. So this community is really struggling with it, and I could go on for a number of different reasons, but our partnership with the Boston Bruins and really what this game means to us has been a way to kind of relieve some of that pain. So we bring up some Gold Star families that'll drop the puck. I bring up 10 active duty guys, and then we socialize and have fun with the Bruins, which we've been doing for 7-8 years now, and it just really comes off really, really well. And it's a little competition that we have. We've won the game once, but they brought in the 2011 Stanley Cup team last year, and it was really a tough situation. We were hoping we could wear them out, but it didn't work out. So
yeah,
couldn't be happier.
And Bob, you guys do so much work at the Boston Bruins Foundation, and getting this 2011 team together and getting them up here to participate in this and join in on the game. What was that like for the organization and for you guys, to be able to have that kind of outreach and those guys want to come up here and take part in this event?
Well, as Ryan said, we've been doing this game now for 7-8 years, and I remember it was a lot of when Ryan first played and I first played, it was great to get the SEALs and the alumni together, but I think Ryan wanted to up the ante, and he got a lot of younger SEALs, so we had to up the ante and bring back the 2011 guys last year. And I think that was a great show for everybody. Those guys really haven't been on the ice together, and I think everybody enjoyed it, including the SEALs, and it was a great event and raised a lot of money for Warrior for Life. And this year, we have a lot of those guys back, which should be a great event for them. I know the guys have fun, and I just want to give a shout-out to Kevin Miller because he's kind of the driving force to get these guys from 2011 back and participate.
Yeah, and we know how important it has been to Kevin over the years, even going back to when he was a player, that support for our military, past, present, active, he's been a big driver of that, as we all know. And Ryan, this is a hockey game, right? But at its core, what is the mission of what you guys do with the Warrior for Life Fund and games like this? What is the greatest message that you want to send to your people and to the people that see these games and come to these events?
Yeah, absolutely. I'll break it down into really three things that I think veterans have to have, and this is trying to help them get to that place. But as guys start to transition and they lost, kind of their purpose, and they had just, the most righteous purpose in the world, protecting and serving our country overseas and what's going on. So when a lot of these guys get to transition, I tell them three things. One, do these three things and you will be successful. One is try and find your sense of purpose. What are you here for now that you've transitioned out and you're moving on with the rest of your life? Number two is flow. You have to find some flow that you have. I get it through hockey. Some people get it through riding a lawnmower. Some people get it through driving through traffic. But you got to find what gives you flow and then do that every day or as much you can. But you have to pay yourself with that flow. And then finally, it's meaningful relationships. And I think that's what this game really is for us. We come up and we're able to gather as our organization is kind of struggling through some things. We bring the Gold Star families in. They'll be in with us the entire week, be on the ice, dropping the puck. But really, those relationships between our special operations SEALs and the Boston Bruins and the NHL now, those have become pretty significant relationships, I think, on both sides. And that's really what this game is about. I mean, we can joke each other about who's playing and who's winning. And Bob, I don't agree with you that I upped the game. You guys did that a couple of years ago. But I do. So that's what I think the game is about. I'll pause there.
Yeah, absolutely. And Bob, obviously we know about the 2011 team. Do you have any other thing that you're bringing to the table here? Do we not want to share the secrets of what lineup you're bringing? Like, how are you guys up in the ante this year again to keep that competitive spirit going here?
No, I think, at the end of the day, Ryan hit the nail on the head. It's about bringing two groups of guys together to raise money for a great cause. And, Ryan's done an amazing job for Warrior for Life. I've been fortunate to go to Virginia Beach, see firsthand how everything is run. And I know Frank Simonetti has been there numerous years and has really been the driving force on behalf of the Bruins alumni for this. And it's just a great partnership. I think everybody looks forward to it. And this year, obviously, it's Saturday night at 7 o'clock at the Warrior Ice Arena, and people can still get tickets for the game. So that's the good thing. Last year, I think it was an immediate sellout because it was the first time the 2011 team had been back. But people want to get tickets, they can go to bruinsfoundation.eventbrite.com for tickets, and there's all different packages, VIP tickets, regular tickets, so you can bring your family. It's a great time, and you'll get to see some great hockey and some great individuals.
Yeah, and Ryan, I'm curious what the response has been from the NHL players that perhaps that you guys met a year ago, that this was their first experience to it. What was their reaction like, and how gratifying is that for you that they want to be a part of it and they want to come back or do it again or expand their role within helping what you guys do?
Absolutely. So last year, we were just incredibly grateful. The NHL came and wanted to partner with us. We were at first reluctant to do it. We're like, hey, our partnership is with the Boston Bruins, and that's where we want to maintain our partnership. But for a number of reasons, we expanded that out to partnering with the NHL. We have 3 games in 3 different locations, one always in Boston. 2, we went to Anaheim last year, played a game out there with some of the NHL alumni and Anaheim and a couple of other NHL players. We also went to Bozeman, Montana, and played a game there. And it was just so much fun. And again, it goes back to the relationships, a little bit of competition, and just being real with each other and ups and downs. And it's not always glamorous what we do, and I'm sure it's not that way for the NHL either. So. To get down and talk to some of the details. But going back to that NHL relationship, it has just really taken us to a completely another level. Now we're starting to impact more and more people, more and more veterans. We have some virtual program stuff. We have some substance abuse things that we do really across the country. So it's been great, and partnerships with the Boston Bruins and the NHL have brought us to being a national charity, and it's it's overwhelming, but we love doing it.
And this game is in memory of Chief Special Operator Nathan Hardy. For those who don't know, what could you tell us about Nathan and why this game is in his memory?
Right. So we lost Nate Hardy in 2009. I was in his squadron for a while, but it was during the war, and it was just things were moving so fast, and in some ways we weren't even able to grieve because things were happening so quickly. We lost 17 guys 13 years ago in extortion when that helicopter went down. So grieving wasn't easy. So as we looked back at that, I'd been in contact with his father, Steve Hardy, and through a number of other channels. He's a UNH professor. He's retired now. But we just got in contact with him and asked him, hey, we'd like to honor your son, can we do it and how can we do it? And you'd be willing to come out and drop the puck for us. And Steve and his wife, Donna, have been doing it for every year since we started, and they'll be out there again today. But we're also bringing Megan Ernst out there, lost her husband about 3.5 years ago to a parachute accident. And then Brian Bourgeois, who's a really close friend of mine and had met a number of the Bruins players when they were down here visiting. CO of SEAL Team 8, we lost him in training about 2.5 years ago. All those families will be there as well. So you see Megan Ernst and her family, and Megan Bourgeois and their family coming out on the ice, really enjoying some friendships, and just being there for each other, and also bringing their story to a larger audience, and they appreciate that, and it gives them a sense of being special still, even after all those tragedies.
Yeah, and as Bob mentioned, it is the 2026 Face-Off for Heroes in Boston. It will take place January 10th at Warrior Ice Arena at 7 p.m. You can find tickets available on packages, Eventbrite. But if you can't find it, again, Googling 2026 Face-Off Heroes or Face-Off for Heroes Boston. Bob, while I have you here, there's another event coming up here. It's the 10th annual Be Fit Challenge.
Yes.
I can't believe we're at 10 years already now with this. It feels like just yesterday it was launching. What can you tell us about that event and how it's grown and what's up next for the Be Fit Challenge?
Well, that's coming up at the end of the month, January 25th at the TD Garden, and Warrior for Life is one of our core charities. We have over 20 charities now. When we first started, we had one, so it's a great experience. It's very similar to the Rodman Ride for Kids. So all the money that your charity raises goes back to your charity. 100% of the money. We have sponsorships from National Grid and Blue Cross and so many different sponsors that have been with us since the get-go. And it's a great way. Last year we raised $1.2 million. This year we're looking to do the same or even a little bit more. I had the pleasure to do it the first year, last year, actually do it. I was just a bystander, but I figured I needed to have a little stake in the game, and it was a great experience to see all the first responders, the veterans. I was humbled seeing a guy in the bomb squad in one of the towers, and he made me go all the way to the top. And this year we actually are going all the way to the top, the 31st floor of the Verizon Tower. It's a new level, but there's all different levels. People can do just the lower bowl, the 7 different levels, and it's a great way to spend a Sunday morning and support all first responders and military charities. And people can go to bostonbruins.com/BeFitChallenge for more information.
Awesome, Bob. Thank you. And Ryan, thank you guys so much for joining us. Really appreciate it. And again, Bruins fans, next week, you have the Be Fit Challenge at the end of the month, but next week at Warrior at 7 p.m., the 2026, again, the rematch here between the sides, the 2026 Face-Off for Heroes Boston. It's a great event. I'm telling you, if you have the time and you can go, it's absolutely worth the trek, worth the night out. It is a fantastic event. Everyone there who went last year left so happy. I live in the neighborhood. I was walking around after the game. It was awesome to see, and so I can't wait to see those people again and see the game again, because it is an awesome event. And I want to thank you guys both so much for making the time today to talk about it.
Thank you. Ryan, I'm going to warm up in a couple hours out on the pond. It's a great time for pond skating here, so I'll be out there for a few hours working on my skating.
I like it. And just keep your eye on the media coming out here. We're going to do a last-minute trade, I think, on our team. I know the trade deadline's on the 7th, so keep an eye on that. There may be some surprises.
Ooh.
I've been used to that. I've been placed on waivers before, too, so I'm ready for anything.
Well, this is awesome.
Awesome. Looking forward to seeing it.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much for joining us again. We really appreciate it. I'll make sure that we tweet out the link to the event pages and whatnot so that people can learn more about it and contribute or go to the game any way they can. So, again, thank you guys so much for joining us, and we look forward to seeing you next week at the event.
Thanks, Ty.
Absolutely.
Yeah, thanks, Bob. Thanks, Ty.
Anytime, guys.
See you, Ryan.
That was Ryan Crowley and Bob Sweeney joining us from the Crowley's from the Warrior for Life Fund. They do tons of events, tons of games, and that was Bob Sweeney from the Boston Bruins Foundation. Again, I'm not just hyping the event up. It is an awesome event. I know multiple people that went to the game a year ago, and they had an amazing time. They thought it surpassed their own expectations in terms of how great it was and how meaningful and fulfilling of an event it was to go to. 617-779-0985. We're going to take a quick break here. When we come back, more of your phone calls on the Shaws and Star Market Hockey Show.
Stay tuned for more of the Shaws and Star Market Hockey Show on the Sports Hub.
Hey, North End. On the left side, here's Minton from the hash marks. Off the boards to Lindholm. Steps down the wall. Throws it in front and scores! Just as Bouchard was coming out of the penalty box, Hampus Lindholm with a seeing eye shot, and the Bruins grab a 3-1 lead.
That Hampus Lindholm goal was the electric play of the week, brought to you by your local New England Honda dealers. Test drive the all-new Civic Hybrid or our full line of hybrid electric vehicles today. Hampus Lindholm, big goal, big night for him, as a matter of fact. The Bruins really controlled pace of play whenever he was out there. He had a goal and an assist. He is a gigantic piece of this team and their success and what needs to go right for them in 2026 if we are to have a hockey season, as we keep talking about. 617-779-0985 here on the Shaw's and Star Market Hockey Show. I think that their record with guys like Zadorov, McAvoy, and Lindholm all in the lineup at the same time kind of speaks for itself, but you're going to have to lean on these guys down the stretch here. And you look at the game on Wednesday, and if you missed it, you didn't see the game, it was a 6-2 final. I understand if you didn't watch it, it's 9:30 on New Year's Eve. Kind of a weird time for a hockey game, not going to lie to you. But they had to survive some heavy waves from Edmonton out of the gate. 15 shots in the opening period. And by the night's end, Swayman had to stand on his head at times, but the stability that you have with Lindholm in the lineup when his game is going right and he's not taking bad penalties, which has been a problem for him of late, problem for the whole team during that 6-game losing streak. They just could not stay out of the box, and they were all penalties that made you go, oh, come on, you can be better than that. But he's a player that is he's important. It goes without saying how important he is. If you're going to put Zadorov with McAvoy, then Lindholm's got to be a driver. He's got to be a driver on the second pairing. And I feel like you saw the Hampus Lindholm that you're used to seeing in that game on Wednesday. Now you got to sustain it. You got to be that guy now for the next 40 games. He was not part of Team Sweden's roster reveal. Hampus Lindholm wasn't. He's not going to be on the roster. And you know what? I like that. I like that because you got a lot of guys that are. You got Swayman, who could be playing for Team USA. You got McAvoy, who is on the USA roster, along with Swayman. But Swayman might be behind Hellebuck and Ottinger. But so you got he might be playing depending on how well he's playing right now, entering the break. You have McAvoy, you have Elias Lindholm, you have David Pastrnak, you have Pavel Zacha, Henry Jokiharju. These guys are all playing for their country, right? And Lindholm not playing for Sweden, I'm like, oh, I like that. A rest. He doesn't like it, I know, but he gets a rest. He gets to rest up because you're going to need him down the stretch. The compacted schedule, the compressed schedule, you're going to need that player. And real quick, we're going to talk about it in the next hour with Bob and Ryan, but if you saw the Winter Classic last night, that's going to that kind of game, 61-degree weather, that's going to be happening for the Boston Bruins by the end of the month, or the beginning of next month when they play in Tampa in the 2026 Stadium Series. I understand that the Winter Classic, it might be old hat to some people. They've done so many outdoor games that it's kind of you're like, all right, enough. This is what I like now. I want to see weird, unique situations or arenas where it's just uncommon, or cities where it's uncommon. I think the last Winter Classic that didn't involve a team that I covered before last night that I was actually excited to watch was the one, and it wasn't a Winter Classic, it was a Stadium Series game. It was the one at Dodger Stadium with the Kings and the Ducks 10 years ago. Because I was like, hockey at Dodger Stadium? I got to see how this is going to look. Those games, and obviously the Tahoe games were awesome too, but those ones didn't have fans. I was thinking in terms of arenas that you're going to have fans at. I was curious about last night, and I thought they did as good of a job as you can with 61-degree weather. I liked that. So get ready for that. If you're going down to the Stadium Series game in Tampa, there's a lot of stuff going on down there that I would look into that the Bruins are doing. I know Bob has talked about before. There's an alumni tailgate party. I'm not sure if you can still buy tickets to that, but if you can, I would look into that if you can. That'd be a fun time. That'd be a fun time down there. All right, we're going to take a quick check of the Hub headlines here. When we come back, we're going to talk with Bob Beers live from Vancouver ahead of tonight's game between the Boston Bruins and the Vancouver Canucks here on the Shaw's and Star Market Hockey Show.
From the Delaware Tiger Studios, this is Boston's home for sports. Touchdown! The flagship station of the Patriots, Bruins, the Celtics, WBCFM and HD Boston 98.5, the 65 years of broadcasting. Sports Hub headlines. Presented by Celsius Energy Drinks.
Coming off a 6-2 win over the Oilers on New Year's Eve, the Bruins will get back to work tonight in Vancouver when they play the Vancouver Canucks at 10 p.m. The Canucks have not been a great team this season, obviously, after trading Quinn Hughes, but they did beat the Bruins in a shootout back in Boston just a few weeks ago. So this will be a rematch for the Bruins and a chance to get some revenge against the Jake DeBrusk, who got scratched the other day, by the way, but was back in the lineup, and the Canucks. Pregame begins at 9:30 on the 98.5 Sports Hub with Bob Beers and Ryan Johnston on the call. And how about some outdoor hockey in 61-degree weather? Like I said, the Rangers and Panthers did that last night in Miami, and it was the Rangers who prevailed with a 5-1 win over the Panthers. Mika Zibanejad had a hat trick, the first in Winter Classic history, and 5 points in the win. Not going to shock you, I know, but this game was also the warmest of all the Winter Classics to date. And the Patriots will wrap up their regular season on Sunday with a head-to-head against the Miami Dolphins. This game has been moved to 4:25 p.m., and 98.5 Sports Hub will have you covered the whole way. Beginning with 8 a.m.'s Sunday kickoff with Alex Barth and Sharon Battle. Patriots preview at 1:30 p.m. with Big Jim Murray and Chris Gasper, and then Bob and Zoe on the call at 4:25. The Patriots do have a chance for the number one seed, but will need some help to make that happen. And speaking with the media for the first time the other day, Stephon Diggs and Christian Barmore both really didn't want to touch their legal situations and simply said, we're focused on the Miami Dolphins. So we'll see how that goes this weekend. The NFL, by the way, says that neither one is going on an exempt list just yet. Sports Hub headlines brought to you by Super Service Today. Winter is here. Don't get caught in the cold. Super Service Today gives your home a full heating system health and safety check. The most thorough in New England, guaranteed. Book now at superservicetoday.com. I am Ty Anderson. Next, check the headlines in an hour.
Listen to it, laugh at it, get mad at it, agree with it, argue about it. It is Boston Sports. Boston Sports. And it is all we do. 98.5, the Sports Hub. Now, the Shaws and Star Market Hockey Show with Ty Anderson, Ryan Johnston, and Bob.
Hotline live from Vancouver is Bob Beers. Bob, how are we doing this morning?
Morning, Ty. How are you?
Very well. How about yourself?
I'm doing all right.
All right. That's what's most important here. It's been
2 days off. It's just kind of waiting to play again. It's kind of strange to have 2 days off. So.
Yeah.
And then we're gonna have 2 days off after the game tonight. So it's just a little bit strange waiting to come home.
Yeah, a little pep in your step. You're not on that back-to-back grind, that everyday grind, and you hope it all plays out to a good showing on the ice.
No, but after you win, you want to see it. You want to play again.
That's
right?
true.
You
want to
wait around 2 days to play again.
I felt I kicked off the show today kind of talking about that win on Wednesday, and anytime you lose 6 games in a row, or you're on a 6-game winless streak, any win feels good. But it felt like that win on Wednesday over Edmonton felt especially good, given what you saw from some Bruins and some really key Bruins, for that matter, in that victory.
Well, Pasta, obviously, right? I mean, I thought it started to come for Pastrnak against Calgary. They played a better game against Calgary. They probably deserved better against the Flames. So you started to see some things kind of come around for them. They deserved a better outcome. I thought they were the better team against the Flames, but it didn't work out. You lose that game in overtime. Unfortunately, you take a penalty and you have to try to kill the 4-on-3 in overtime, and do a great job of it, actually, through most of it. But, come out on the losing end, but get a point out of it. So things started to turn that game. And for the second half of the Calgary game, I thought Pastrnak was finding his game a little bit, and then it certainly was there against Edmonton.
Yeah, and it goes without saying, obviously, how important he is to this team, and it does feel like he's getting back to looking like the number 88 that we expect, and you want to be
in
out
need.
there. And absolutely need. And what did you think of the decision to kind of tinker with the lines a little bit, and maybe you put some younger players with him? Are you asking him to drive more? Are you asking the players that have the legs to maybe kind of make up for what he was building back towards? Like, what did you make of that, of going back to that combo there with the younger skaters?
Oh, I'm fine with it. I mean, it's just you got to try some different things. I mean, Look, Geekie, as good as he is and as good as he's been, I mean, he's obviously gone stale a little bit here. He's struggling to find his game, find his game again. And he's a guy that's needed as well. So they're just trying to, spread it out a little bit. It's not a first line, second line, third line thing. It's just trying to, spread it out, trying to find it. After they kill a penalty, they come back with Geekie and Pastrnak together. So they'll have their time together. So it's not there's no right and wrong, right? It's just trying to find a formula that's going to work for you here, and they're trying to spread it out, especially on the road, because teams can load up against you, with their top guys against you, and try to shut you down that way. At home, you can load up a little bit more because you have the last change, and you can, select, get your line matchups the way you want them. But on the road, it's a little bit more difficult. So you spread it out and try to find different ways to score. And they did a good job the other day against Edmonton. We'll see if it carries over here today. We got a team that played last night in Vancouver that looked good last night against Seattle. So and lost that game in the shootout. But they're a team that, when Vancouver was in town last time, that was a game that should have been won by the Bruins. They wasted that point. I think they got a point out of it, but they should have won that game in regulation, or should have won that game, period, and didn't. So this is a team that, if you're looking at the road trip and you're looking at games that, you try to build off the win against Edmonton, this is one you should win here today, I believe.
Yeah, that Vancouver game in Boston, I think, has to be up there for one of their more frustrating losses of the year. I think we've talked about that on the show quite a few. There's quite a few games that have stuck out that have really kind of irritated us and irked us a little bit. But that Vancouver one is absolutely up there for me, because that was so winnable, right? And that was an example of finding a way to lose a game, especially how dominant that first period was, from the Bruins standpoint. And they give a goal with, what was it, 17 seconds left or whatever it was in the first period, and that was a tough one. One of the things that's been an issue for this team all year long, we've talked about it again and again, but these last 7 games in particular, the penalties. They go a perfect 5 for 5 on the PK on Wednesday, but these penalties have added up, and you look at them, and it's a lot of trips, it's a lot of high stickings, it's a lot of stick work, I would say. What do you make of the penalties lately, and what are they a symptom of, in your opinion?
Good question, and if we had the answer, they would have fixed it already, right?
True.
It's on the players. I mean, it's on the players. They know it. They know it's an issue. The hookings, the holdings, the trips, whatever, and some calls are weak. We know that, but some are warranted. And if it becomes a pattern over 41 or 42 games, I mean, then it's on you, and you got to figure out a way to get out of it. And it's something that's plagued them all year long. And the PK was really good at the beginning of the season. Then it sprung some leaks. Now on the last 3 games or so, it's been really good again. But against Calgary, you took that the high sticking penalty at the 0 mark, right, regulation, and you do a great job killing most of it, and all of a sudden the puck's in the back of the net right at the end of it. So it's on the players. They know it. It's we can talk about it with Marco when we do our interviews with him, and we talk about question him, and he said, what do you do as a coach to tell them not to take penalties? You tell them not to take penalties. To take penalties. It's so. I don't know what the product is. I think just maybe trying to do a little bit too much. They know that they're a team that has to outwork the other team. They know that they're a team that has to play simple. Pasternak's Pastrnak, but most of the guys are not. And you have to play a simple game. You have to outwork them. You have to work it, low to high, get the puck to the net, bang, get to the front of the net, that type of thing, score some ugly goals. And if they're not doing that, or, if it's not coming, then they're trying a little bit too hard, maybe up the ice. The frustrating penalties are the ones that come up the ice, 200 feet from your net, whether it's, or 150 feet from your net. Like, those are the real frustrating penalties, because that's just reaching, trying to create something offensively, and now you're putting your team down. I felt bad for Kaslick the other day, right? Because Kaslick is a guy that just he works so hard. He does so many good things for you. He's physical. He'll stand up for his teammates. And he took 2 penalties up the ice against Calgary the other day, reaching in with a stick. And, he knew it. You could see it on his face. He wore it, and nobody felt worse than him, but he's in the box a couple times against Calgary. The Bruins are able to kill those penalties, but still, the guys that you need to score goals, Geekie, Pastrnak, they don't kill penalties. They're sitting on the bench when you're in the box. So that's it's been something that's plagued them all year. I don't really look at the stats that closely, but I think that they're still number one in terms of minor penalties, right?
They are. Yeah.
So it's something that has to change second half of the year.
Yeah, and there's that mental component of it too that you talk to players about and they tell you like they realize like we're taxing our best players and our other best players are not out there for a PK, and it can become too much. And that's the part that I thought was really noticeable early in the year, right? Where like they would take a bad penalty and you could just kind of watch the whole team kind of slump as if they knew, all right, Pastrnak's on the bench for 2 minutes now. This is not good for us, or we're going to have to lean on our best players. Right, exactly. Yeah. And so that mental aspect of it can be challenging, and I guess the positive is that they're working through it right now. Like their PK has kind of gotten back to what it was, but
last 3 games or so, is that what it is? Yeah, I think the last 3 games. I mean, they allowed the one against Calgary, but actually they should have scored in overtime and shorthand to win it. Zacha had the breakaway and Zadorov had the rebound, right? And if they score there, then that's shorthanded goal. They win that game, but eventually, Calgary breaks through.
Yeah, and one of the changes that we've seen lately has been, or recently, has been the Jonathan Aspero moving up with Hampus Lindholm. I thought they had a great game on Wednesday night. I thought they were good together. What do you like about that combo? And how does a guy like Aspero, in your opinion, help someone like Lindholm?
Well, I just like Aspero, period. I mean, I like the way he's played. I mean, it's hard to believe he never played an NHL game before this year.
Right.
26 years old. I mean, he's really fit in nicely, and he's given them some really good minutes. I felt bad for him the other day. It was a bad penalty. You got to know what's on the clock, and he took a high sticking penalty there at the 0 mark, right, of regulation against Calgary. But up until then, he played a good game. And he played a solid game against Edmonton. He's physical. He closes quick. He's strong. He's not the tallest guy. Like he doesn't. Other guys can close with their stick and get there quickly with their stick because they're tall and they're rangy. But he's kind of like just a stronger guy that closes quick with his body, right, and his stick, and he takes plays away. So I like him, and he can play the right side as a lefty, which is good, which a lot of guys can. It's not often you see a righty playing the left side, but, Aspero can play the right side. He's proven that, and it's going to make a tough decision for them when Joki Harju's ready, if he's ready. He's been skating, so you expect him to be back at some point. So I don't know what they're going to do when he comes back, but I don't think you can take Aspero out of the lineup based on the way that he's played and kind of what he means, and he solidifies things for them a little bit. He gives them other pairs, right? So if McAvoy and Zadorov are going to be your top pair, if you look at it that way, you can still change that. But I think Aspero kind of gives Lindholm a little bit of a safety over on that right side. But it also, I think more importantly, Ty, is it puts Peak with Lohrei. Lohrei needs a little help on the defensive end. There's no question about it. And, I think Pete can provide that for them. So if Lohrei stays in the lineup, then Pete's probably a good guy to be playing next to him.
Yeah, and it felt like, and I'm not sure, like your take on this, your opinion on this, because I don't think we've spoke about it in real life on the air, and it's been a little while since we've all been in the studio, but it feels like lately that Peak Lindholm pairing has been victimized for some goals against. Part of that feels like usage, but also maybe like they just need a little break from each other and maybe drive their own pairings to a certain degree. I don't know if you feel the same way or not.
Well, I think that Pete gives you everything he's got.
Right.
And, I think Lindholm is mostly good. He's had some rough outings as well, but he's mostly good, and definitely want him in the lineup. I think if Peak is your third pairing defenseman, I think you're a good team. I think you're a better team. Let's put it that way. If he's asked to play 20-something minutes, that's a lot for him. That's a lot for him. I don't know if that's in his wheelhouse, right? And I don't know if that's ideal for the Bruins as a team. I like what he brings. I like the way he plays. I like how hard he competes. But if he's playing over 20 minutes, it's probably a little bit too much. So, if you can get him, between 15 to 20, and different matchups, I think it's real good for your team. So I think that's what they're looking at right now. But is Aspro I've kind of said all along, right? If we're looking to add, I would want a defenseman on the right side, and I would probably want, a winger that can help you up front. So, and that hasn't changed.
Yeah. It's really interesting how many defensemen they have now. They're just going to be healthy at the same time, right? Like you've kind of been able to put off bad decisions or tough decisions because of that. I
told you a couple weeks ago, I think, right? It's that don't confuse quantity with quality.
Right.
You got a lot of defensemen, but you can always upgrade that area.
617-779-0985. We're going to take a quick break here and more from Bob Beers and myself on the Shaw's and Star Market Hockey Show.
The Shaw's and Star Market Hockey Show will continue with Ty Anderson, Ryan Johnston, and Bob Beers on the Sports Hub. All you need to live large. This is your show, the Shaw's and Star Market Hockey Show on the Sports Hub.
Bob, going over the year that was for the Bruins, you can acknowledge the steps forward they've taken while taking some temporary steps backwards. Namely James Higgins and Will Zellers, two guys that had really good showings at the World Juniors. Where you look at the Bruins right now, where do you think they are in terms of rebuilding the pipeline? Are they still another draft or two away, or do you think that they can kind of bridge the gap that they are? Yeah. I wasn't sure if you thought they could accelerate it with like a trade or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no. Yeah, I agree. But, I haven't watched Providence play, so, in fairness, I have not seen them play. But when you talk to people, it's like, they're a really good team, but are there guys that are ready to step up and help you here? And that's the biggest question. And look, they went for it, how many years in a row that they went for it, and they traded some high picks. They traded some first-round picks. And, obviously it didn't work out. And I don't mind them going for it. I love that. I love that they were all in a couple of those years that they thought that they could do it. But it didn't work out, and now you start to build, right? You're looking good right now with 2 first-rounders next year, or this coming year, I should say, and then 2 first-rounders next year. So you're looking good in those areas. But, yeah, you like what you saw in the World Championships, or World Juniors, I should say. Last year in the World Juniors, they didn't have anybody there. Right now, you've got two marquee guys playing for Team USA, and that played well. So it's got better as the tournament went on, especially for Higgins, and they looked good last night. Unfortunately, the loss, and they're out, but they look good. I watched that game closely last night, and it was good to see them on the score sheet and impactful, and some of the things that they did. Zellers could have won it. He had a nice couple of chances there, but it's good to see things kind of moving in the right direction with the drafts. And you have to build it somewhere, and this is a good start.
Yeah, and the reason why I bring it up is like we get so many calls, every week about selling or buying and what should this team do, and it's such a unique spot, right? Because of where they are, you do have guys in the prime of their careers, and you do have some help coming on the way. It's just. It's for me, I just think the mental component of being a team that is competitive and selling might be a tough sell for guys in that room. And as a former player, I'm sure you can speak to that of the mentality of a room and what decisions made above them can do to a group at times.
Yeah, but don't underestimate what it can do for a team to make the playoffs.
Right.
And right now they're in a position to make the playoffs, but so is 15 other teams in the East. I don't think there's any team that's out of it right now. The way that Buffalo's won 10 in a row, and you got teams that are playing well or teams that are slipping, and it happens quickly where you're in a playoff spot or you're out of a playoff spot. The Bruins lose 6 in a row and they're out, but they're only a couple points out of a playoff spot. Then you look at games played. It all kind of comes into it. You're in a playoff hunt right now, and that was their goal this year. Right? I mean, their goal was to be back in the playoffs. So don't underestimate that. And I think that they have a good opportunity to do that. And they have the assets to help them do that. But I don't want them to do it for a rental. I think that's important to say. Don't make a trade. Don't trade one of your draft picks and a good player for a rental. You want to trade them for somebody that's going to be here and help you for years to come. I believe, anyhow. So if that's going to happen, and it might, I think a lot of teams are in the trade market though right now. When you look at it, because everybody's in it in the East, and it's that tight. So it's going to be a fun. It's actually, it's going to be a sprint here in January. And then all of a sudden, it's going to be nothing in February, and it's going to be another sprint in March. So it's going to be interesting to see how teams handle things, whether they want to make trades before the trade deadline, before the Olympic break, or wait until after the Olympic break and see where they're at. But I think it's going to be fascinating for teams and who's in who's buying, who's selling, because everybody's in it. In the East, anyhow.
And I was going to ask you about this upcoming stretch here, right? They had Edmonton on Wednesday, which I admit I looked at the schedule and don't know about that one. And then sure enough, they win at 6-2. But you look at this little pocket of games coming up here. You have Vancouver, and You have I'm sorry, I forget who it is.
Seattle.
Seattle.
Yeah.
Seattle on
Yeah, oh,
Tuesday, and then Seattle comes back here.
Stay out in the Northwest here.
and then when you come home, you have Calgary, you have the Rangers, you have the Pens. I think the Red Wings are in there as well. And so, what do you make of this upcoming pocket of games here? Is it a stretch where perhaps it can get on a little run here, or is this something where you're kind of looking at it like,
who knows?
Just tread water?
No, it's not tread water. It's just who knows. I mean, it's just the way you're playing and how you catch teams, right? You're catching Seattle on a really good run right now. We got Vancouver tonight, but then your game against Seattle in a couple of days, they're on a really good run. Before that, they were awful. They were terrible. So I think it's sometimes how you catch teams. Like Vancouver played really well last night. They deserved better, and they lose. They're terrible at home. Their road record's way better than their home record. So maybe you catch them at the right time here. Tomorrow you catch them on a back-to-back. You're sitting here waiting. Seattle's going to be on a back-to-back. Seattle's going to be in I think it's Calgary the night before on Monday night, and the Bruins will be sitting in Seattle waiting for them. So, opportunity to win a couple of games here at the end of the trip, finish this trip off on a high note, and who knows when you come back home. I mean, they played well at home until recently when you sprung a couple of leaks. But it's sometimes I think it's how you catch teams. The schedule is so difficult for everybody right now, and January's no different. You come home after Tuesday's game, you play Thursday, Saturday, Sunday. That's not easy. And I think Saturday, Sunday are afternoon games. It's not easy, but you've got to deal with it. January's a tough schedule. If you can come out of that on the plus end, you're right in a playoff spot heading into the Olympic break.
Yeah,
and does that change your outlook for what you do in terms of trade deadline?
Yeah,
right.
That's why this month just feels so important in that regard, because I wonder how aggressive the pre-Olympic break trade market is going to be, because
that's my point. Carolina won the Cup. The last time they went to the Olympics, Carolina won the Cup, and they had made 2 trades before the Olympics. So they brought players in January, and then the Olympics came, and eventually they end up winning the Cup. It doesn't mean it's a formula for success. It's just saying that, and I'm not suggesting look, the Bruins have a chance to win the Cup. I want them to be competitive and make the playoffs and see where it goes, and then see where you're at moving forward. So I emphasize the fact that if you're going to make a trade, it's going to be for somebody that's going to be here, not just for this season. Someone who's going to help you long term. You're not going to sacrifice some of the assets that you have, some of the draft picks that you have, to help you just for this year. I want it to help you moving forward.
And Bob, before I let you go here, did you catch any of the Winter Classic last night? Did you see any of that game?
A little bit. So we were watching it in a restaurant, bar, whatever you want to call it. Watched the U.S. team lose, unfortunately, and then the Canadian team came on, and that game was over early. The World Juniors. So we had one TV on the Winter Classic, and we had one TV on the World Juniors. So watching a little bit of both, and then came back to the hotel and watched Vancouver.
And I was curious with the Winter Classic itself. How do you feel about it? Because I talk to fans and people, and some are burnt out on it, and some are like, "Oh, it's in a cool location. I want to watch it." I'm curious, where you land on the Winter Classic as a whole, and even the upcoming Stadium Series game, which is going to be in Florida, down in Tampa, versus Miami. But what's your feeling on these outdoor games at this point?
I'm okay with it. I mean, we've played in a bunch of them now, right? And, the Bruins have, I should say. I mean, you've had 2 at Fenway, you've had Gillette, you've had Notre Dame. I mean, we did Lake Tahoe during COVID, which was crazy because there was no fans there. That was interesting. So we've done a bunch of them, right? So this will be unique in the fact that in the sense that the warm weather potentially, and they could control yesterday because they have a dome. Tampa's going to be a little bit different. They're going to have a tent over it until just before game time, trying to keep it, refrigerated, keep it cold. So it's going to be interesting to see how it goes. I thought they did a good job last night from all I heard, and the ice looked fine. and they were able to do a good job. But that was a dome, so this will be a little bit different here in Tampa. So interesting. I'm curious how it goes. It's going to be fun.
Yeah, I think this is the way of the game now. It's finding new, unique places to put it and teams to play in it, and so that's always going to get my eye. Is just a unique city, a unique market, perhaps. But I see both sides of the coin. I was just curious what you thought about it. But we're going to find out at the end of the month, basically, when we're down in Tampa.
Fenway's kind of hard to top. I've liked the games, both games at Fenway. I've really liked. Notre Dame was pretty good, even though the weather wasn't great. So, that does affect the ice. I don't think the teams were able to skate on the ice before because the weather was bad in that game again at Notre Dame against Chicago. But, I think the plan is to go down to Tampa, skate on the ice, hopefully the day before, I believe. But, that still remains to be seen. I'm waiting. We haven't seen any details on it yet, so we're kind of waiting on all of it.
Awesome. Well, Bob,
we don't even know what time the game is in Tampa yet.
I think they're saying 6 p.m. That's what Ticketmaster's saying, but who knows? Subject to change, as we all know, right?
Yeah. Officially, it's to be determined. So.
Right. Exactly. Well, Bob, we got a few games before that game, beginning with tonight in Vancouver. Look forward to hearing you and Ryan on the call beginning at 9:30 with pregame. And thanks for joining us. I know it's early out there, so I really appreciate it.
Yeah, all good, Ty. Thanks.
Awesome. That was Bob Bierce joining us on the Expert Hotline. We're going to take a break here. When we come back, Ryan Johnson, if you want to get on the phone lines, we can take calls while Ryan and Bob are on the air. 617-779-0985 here on the Shaw's and Star Market Hockey Show.
Ty Anderson, Ryan Johnston, and Bob Bierce.
snap. Rolling to his right. It's being chased by Judon. Drake May on the run for the 5. Gets away.
Drake May knows it.
Boston, he's the best sports city in the world.
98.5, the Sports Hub.
We're back with the show on ice. The Shaw's and Star Market Hockey Show with Ty Anderson, Ryan Johnston, and Bob Beers on the Sports Hub.
This is the Shaw's and Star Market Hockey Show. Just talked with Bob Beers. That was awesome stuff, as always, from Bob. And joining us now, his partner in the booth, the voice of the Boston Bruins here on the Bruins Radio Network, 98.5 The Sports Hub, Ryan Johnston. Ryan, how we doing?
Good, Ty. How are you?
Very well, very well. Thank you. I said it to Bob, and I'm going to say it to you as well. Thank you for making the time. I know it's super early out there in Vancouver, so we really do appreciate it. Kicking things off, I just wanted to ask you what you saw from that game on Wednesday, and I said it to Bob, but any win is a feel-good win when you've lost 6 in a row, but that one felt especially gratifying for the Bruins given the contributions they got across the board, and really at all 3 positions, it felt like.
Yeah, I go back to the days leading up to that game. Marco Sturm kind of made it a point to try and get the guys to loosen up a little bit and have some fun. The day before, I think it was in Edmonton at their practice facility. He opens up the practice by having a 10-on-10 2-puck scrimmage essentially for about 5 minutes. There's 2 pucks on the ice. There's a black team, black jerseys versus white jerseys. Black jerseys shoot at this end, white jerseys shoot at this end. He throws 2 pucks out there, and every guy on the ice at the same time, and the guys are hooting and hollering and having some fun. We asked him about that afterwards, and he said he was reminding the guys to have a good time. It's not a good time when you're losing 6 games in a row, but they started to get back to their game against Calgary, and then going into the Edmonton game, you could kind of feel it coming. Now they're still playing against Edmonton, and you're in danger. Every time the Oilers have possession, especially when McDavid or Draisaitl are involved, and so it's not like you go in expecting that they're going to win that game 6-2, but they do. They came out strong. They get some goals in the first period. They get a lead. It's something that they've have talked a lot about, that they've been playing from behind too much in the first half of the season. And not only did they get that lead, but then you get into the second period and they're able to build on that lead, and it's 4-1 going into the third. And you still have to be wary of Edmonton at that point, but then you get the first goal in the third period, and it's like, all right, this is this game is pretty much over at that point. And as you said, guys up and down the lineup that are contributing. Not only do you get a 2-2-1 night from Pasta, but you get Minton had 2 assists, Arvidsson had 2 assists. I thought Arvidsson played really well. His return to Edmonton, I think, meant a little something extra to him the other night. Looked like he was really. Not that I questioned his effort in other games, but it really looked like he was playing hard the other night. Elias needed him to get going, and he does. Hampus Lindholm hasn't contributed too much on the point sheet recently. He gets a goal and an assist, so it's a really good night, and hopefully one that they can build on.
And you mentioned Marco and the way he pushes the team, right? Is that his greatest strength, is knowing when to be the gentle hand and when to be like the loud voice? Because we've seen the clips from behind the B after the Anaheim loss where he's screaming at them and saying, I try to be nice, but forget that. I had heard that he was reading the riot act to them after the game on December 23rd against Montreal. And so, but has that sort of been his greatest strength so far to date, is knowing when to push and when to be more of a shoulder to lean on and know what buttons to press for his team?
Yeah, it seems to be, and it can be different, right? Sometimes, listen, the message for an individual player might have to be different than for the team. Some guys respond well to getting, pushed and more of that kind of hard ass attitude. Some guys, you need to put an arm around your shoulder and say, it's going to be okay. I mean, it's different players respond to different stimuli. And so, for Sturm, it does seem like, for the most part, he has done a good job of knowing how to handle guys individually and team wise, and when to push them hard, when to back off them. You also have to understand, and he talked about yesterday. They went through a full practice yesterday after a semi day off. We ended up with some travel issues on New Year's Eve / New Year's Day, so we got to Edmonton later than we were expecting. But they didn't skate on New Year's Day. They come back yesterday, and he puts them through a practice. And he said afterwards, he's like, I like practice. As a coach, I really enjoy practice, and we don't get to do it a whole lot. So he's excited about some of the things that he gets to run them through during that skate yesterday. But even when you don't have a lot of practice time, there are times as a coach where you need to take a look around and go, my guys look tired. They look like they could use a day off. And there have been days where, they've had a scheduled practice and they've decided not to take the ice. We're just going to do a meeting instead. We're going to watch video instead. And we're not going to go on the ice as a team because, the guys maybe need a little bit of a break. Those are the things that especially for a first time NHL head coach, right? He is, he's shown a pretty good, a pretty good idea of what his team needs. And I would imagine that goes a lot back toward his experiences as a player and having been in these guys' shoes.
So we got some callers on the line, Tom and Brian, that I want to get to on the other side, and it's going to be kind of a grab bag here. I admit, Ryan, I feel like with the year ending and the new year beginning, there's a lot I want to get to with you. So I want to take a quick break. When we come back, if you're down to do like a variety of just topics here to end the show, I say we do it. How do you feel about that?
Absolutely.
All right, let's do it. Let's do it. When we come back, Ryan Johnston and more of your phone calls here to finish up this episode of the Shaw's and Star Market Hockey Show.
Stay tuned for more of the Shaw's and Star Market Hockey Show on the Sports Hub.
the show has flown by today, I will say. This is the Shaw's and Star Market Hockey Show. I am your host, Ty Anderson, and joining us on the expert hotline is Ryan Johnston, and your phone calls, again, 617-779-0985. Ryan, I don't know how much of it you watched last night, but the Winter Classic was in Miami. It is a very polarizing event, I've learned. People are either really sick of it and want it to go away, or they're like, this is great, I love it in weird locations. First of all, where do you land on the Winter Classic as a whole?
I think it's a great idea that's been a little overdone. Is kind of the early versions of the Winter Classic were amazing spectacles. It was something that we hadn't really seen done too many times before. Then they kind of expanded and started doing multiples in a year, and it kind of loses some of that special feeling to it. I watched a little bit of yesterday's, but it wasn't really appointment viewing for me that I've got to see this. As Beersy said earlier, they had they basically have a dome, so they're, it's kind of climate controlled. So, okay, they're playing down in Miami, but it's like, okay, are they really, playing an outdoor game there? It had a little bit of a different feeling to it. It's cool. It's, listen, anytime you play an NHL hockey game in front of a stadium-sized crowd, I think that's kind of cool. I am looking forward to seeing how it goes off in Tampa. I am chomping at the bit to find out where we are broadcasting from for that game.
The pirate ship. You're on the pirate ship.
Hey, I you know what? I'd be fine with that. But no matter where it is, I know it's going to be a hell of a challenge to make it sound something coherent, because we're either going to be way too close or way too far away.
Yeah, I think the problem with the Winter Classic, and we're gonna get some phone calls on it in just a second here. They're like a band that had a great debut album, and it's like nothing's ever gonna beat snowy Buffalo, Pittsburgh, and those baby blue uniforms, Sidney Crosby in the shootout. Like that's like, I mean, how are you gonna beat that for a regular season game? Are you ever beating that? I really don't know. And I feel like that's the problem with the Winter Classic, is that they had such iconic ones out of the gate that you're never going to beat those, it feels like.
So I saw, I don't think it has been, it has been made official, but there are rumors floating around, at least, that they're talking about Bristol, Tennessee next year. Or in 2027 for the Bristol Motor Speedway, which is essentially a giant outdoor bowl stadium. They played a Major League Baseball game there this year. That would be an interesting concept. Depending on how they set that up and how much of the thing they actually used. Because you're talking about going back to a massive scale, like a University of Michigan stadium kind of massive scale of 100,000 plus people. But I just saw that rumor online this morning. That's kind of where it is at this point, right? It's where can you do it that still has some sort of special visual? Because that's what it's about. The visuals of the Bruins playing in front of the Green Monster at Fenway, pretty cool stuff. As you talked about, that first game in Buffalo, just because of the snow and the newness of it and all of that. There's always been talk over the years, like, could you build a temporary stadium in Central Park in New York City, or at the Washington Monument, or something like that, to give it that added oomph, emphasis that you don't necessarily get from playing, sorry NHL, in the Miami Marlins Stadium, for instance.
Well, the historic Marlins. What's wrong with them? Let's go.
Right.
Let's go to Tom and Jefferson. Tom, what's up?
Hey, so I agree completely with Ryan. The idea is the spectacle. And if your TV show, the star of your TV show is the stadium, and you're playing in the Miami Marlins Stadium, you got a problem. Like the coolest part of the Winter Classic last night was, they made some fake snow. I bet that must be fun for people that never see it. Like, cool decorations. Like, they were apologizing for their own broadcast, talking about how it was so quiet, because they're so far away. It was like, well, it didn't seem like it was a problem in Fenway. It might be because it's in Florida. So I don't know if you're going to do something like, it's the 250th birthday of the United States. Have the Tahoe was the best one, and part of it was because the backdrop, and they mic'd up the ice where you could hear the players and there was no crowd, right? So the Winter Classic in stadiums is kind of fun as a thing for the crowd there, but it sucks as a TV show the past few years. If you're going to do it as a TV show, you want, the Capitals and the Senators for the 250th anniversary on the National Mall. You want the Islanders and Rangers in Central Park. You want Utah and Colorado up in the Rockies. You want Boston and Montreal on the Frog Pond, essentially.
Yeah.
Last quick point, Bruins need to do whatever they can, I think, to acquire the assets necessary to draft Chase Reed. Thanks, guys. Have a good one.
Absolutely. Bye. Chase Reed is the guy for me. I would love it if they can do that. Yeah, the ratings bear it out, by the way, Ryan. Another call. Brian in Fitchburg with a thought on the Winter Classic. Brian, what's up?
Hey, good morning, Ty Rye. How you guys doing?
Good.
Hey, Ryan just kind of stole my thunder. I thought it would have been awesome is if they tied in the NASCAR and they had it at Daytona Race Speedway yesterday, or at least last night. Mm-hmm. I think that would have been more of a spectacle because last night was more of an ECHL minor league outfit rather than the regular. And then regarding drafting and going forward with young players, I'm not a big fan of Don Sweeney spending the 20th overall pick to get somebody who's never going to make the team. I would love to see them take that draft capital and sign Adam Fantelli, who's a restricted free agent over the summer. Great show, guys. Thanks.
Thank you, Brian. Yeah, I think that's – where do you land on that real quick? Because we got one more call. Ryan, do you want to parlay some of these picks into a bigger hockey trade, or do you want to use them to rebuild the talent pool? Where do you sort of land on that?
Well, I think, if you do it the right way, then trading a pick is rebuilding the talent pool, right? If you use let's say a future first round draft pick, you trade that away and you bring in a player who's, in his late 20s or, who's an experienced guy in the NHL who what you're going to get. So it's not a question of will this guy make it to, what'll happen during his development. He's already developed. You can bring him here, sign him long term. That's a good use of a first round draft pick, right? I mean, people always, and this goes across sports, people always tend to overvalue the promise of a future pick, right? So, we got a first-round draft pick. Well, you have to, number one, you have to hit on that pick. Then, the player has to come in and has to, be properly developed, spend some time in the minors or maybe even still in juniors or in college, for another year or two. Then they're going to come into, and maybe spend some time in Providence and then come to the NHL. And then it's going to take them a while to kind of, generate into a full-scale NHL player. If you've got an NHL-ready player that you can get with that pick that you can lock up long-term, that can be a part of your team for the next 5, 6, 7, 8 years, then that to me is worth it. But that's the only way I'm, trading or using that capital outside of taking a pick is if it's for that type of a player.
Yeah, it's a great point. And as an example, the picks the Bruins traded to get Hampus Lindholm, all three have not worked out. So who cares? If it brings you a guy that helps you right now, who cares? It's about finding that right guy, and they got to be age appropriate. Wrapping things up today is Jake in the suburbs. Jake, what's going on?
Hey, what's up? A little bit off topic, but, as the Olympic rosters have been revealed, I just, political feelings aside, it's just hate to see that Russia doesn't have a team. Like, the Russian team would be a legitimate threat for gold and gives us like a awesome villain. I mean, you think about their goaltending, Bobrovsky probably wouldn't make the team with Sorokin and Shesterkin and then Vasilevsky. And then, I mean, the talent offensively that group would have is just insane. So anyway, just wanted to voice that. It's like super disappointing that we don't have them in the Olympics.
I agree, Jake. Thank you for the call. Ryan, what was better than Ivan Drago in Rocky IV? You like a villain. You like a sports villain. I understand the political climate and why you got to ban this team, but I would love rooting against Russia in the Olympics, and I'm sure there's a lot of people out there who feel that same way.
Yeah, listen. Obviously there's a lot of political implications in all of this stuff, and David Pastrnak was asked that question yesterday and politely declined. Because they were talking about historically the Czechs' biggest rival is Russia. And somebody asked him, "Well, would you like it if Russia was in there?" And he's I'm not going to get into that because of the politics of it. But
why?
And I don't blame him. But I mean, playing best on best world stage with Kucherov and Kaprizov and of course Ovechkin and those types of players. Yeah, I mean, it would be terrific to be able to have them. And I know certainly we've got some Russian players on this Bruins team that would like that either to have that opportunity or to have their countrymen have that opportunity to compete. Unfortunately, it just can't happen right now. But the Russians are they would be an absolute force to be reckoned with in that tournament, no question.
Ryan, thank you so much for joining us. Look forward to hearing you on the call tonight, 9:30 pregame, Bruins and Canucks. Thank you guys for listening. Appreciate you. Sorry we went a little late today, but it was worth it to get all your calls in. This has been the Shaw's and Star Market Hockey Show. We will talk to you next Saturday.